Well, good morning, you all.
Good morning.
I tell you, there's something odd going on in my body, and I am leaning left. And I'm glad I'm not leaning right. So I keep leaning left and falling over to the left, and I can no longer drive because I drive off the road to the left. So we're going to figure that out this week. So just so you know, I went to work yesterday, and one of my clients said, "What is wrong with you?" And I thought, well, I better let you know that there is something odd going on so you're not alarmed. Today's sermon's about friendship. Most people are looking for friends. Actually, most people are desperate for friends, looking for new friends, because it seems that as human beings, we are wired to want to be seen, to want to be heard, to want to be understood, and to be understood by somebody who really, really understands. So we look for friends. As Linda Grayson says, there is nothing better than a friend, unless it's a friend with chocolate. Yes, we are looking for friends. We're looking for the sweetness in life. But what makes for a friend anyway? I remember when my oldest son was about 4 years old, I did something that I had promised I never, ever would do with him, but I did. I took him to McDonald's. And I let him play in that indoor playground because it was raining outside. And he made a friend there. And when we left McDonald's, he said, "Mommy, I have a new friend. He's my best friend. His name's Tommy." And from that day forward, he spoke about Tommy and wanting to go back to McDonald's to play with him. I did not have the heart to tell him, "Honey, that was a one-day friendship. You will probably never see that boy ever again in your life." No, I didn't tell him. I just marveled at how children are so ready to open their heart and accept a new person in, no matter who they are, and have new friends. But when we get older, it gets harder, right? Well, because when we're little, we're surrounded by people our own age. We go to school, and there are a whole bunch of people that are potential friends. We have a new science lab in 7th grade. We joined the choir. We're on the track team. There are lots of people around that are potential friends. And we also have people that would help facilitate that, like our parents or teachers or coaches or the choir director, trying to facilitate those friendships. But when we get older, we're all on our own. We have to figure that out all by ourselves. Where do we meet people like us, and who will help us connect in that friendship way? My same son, my older son, at the age of 13 told me, "Mom, I don't have any friends." I said, "Come on, it's going to be your birthday. Do you want to have somebody over for a sleepover?" "No, I don't have any friends anymore." Have you ever felt that way? I don't have any friends anymore. I used to have friends, but I don't have them anymore. I'm all alone. Now, I decided when he was 13 to have a surprise party for him. And guess what? I invited all of his friends. And he was really surprised because they all came. He had friends after all, but he had to have somebody help remind him of that. I think at some point in our lives, we tell ourselves lies. We tell ourselves the lie that, "Oh, we're not good enough to have friends. We're not worthy enough. Oh, that person's wonderful, but they wouldn't want to be my friend." And I'm here to tell you, it's a lie. People are desperately seeking friendships, want to connect with you. My high school home economics teacher told me one time that consider yourself lucky if you have 5 true friends in your lifetime. Now, I was about 16 at the time, and she was ancient, maybe 50. And I thought, what does she know? 5 friends? Are you kidding me? I have hundreds of friends. But now I know what she was talking about. She was talking about real friends. Real friends are hard to find. Not the 978 friends that you have on Facebook, or the 207 friends that you play words with friends with. In fact, I don't even like that word's been kidnapped. It cheapens it a little bit to say, oh, I have 1,000 friends on Facebook. I'm like, wow, I don't even know 1,000 people, let alone keep a friendship going with them. I'm talking about real friends. So what is a real friend anyway? Well, for one thing, real friends energize us. We've all been around people that after just a short period, our gas gauge gets empty because they're so draining with all their negativism. But we've also been around people that our gas tank gets filled up. They energize us. They make us feel happy and alive. So, one thing that we want to look for in a real friend is somebody that fills us up, not drains us down. And also to be that yourself. I had a client this week that came in and he downloaded all of the things that were wrong with his life. His wife, everything that she did wrong, their marriage, their children, his job, his boss, the city of Houston, the weather, you name it, he covered it. And it was all bad, which is okay. You know, I'm a therapist. It's okay for you to come and download all that stuff, for sure. But then he said this remarkable statement that took me back. He said, you know what bugs me the most? And I said, no, what? He goes, my wife is so negative. I said, oh. I said, do you consider yourself a positive person? He said, well, yes, of course. And I said, oh. And do you feel like you bring that positive energy into your home? And he said, oh, every day. Which reminded me that we don't always know if we're an encourager or discourager. Sometimes we think we're an encourager by saying you're doing this wrong and this wrong and this wrong and this wrong. But actually what happens is it feels discouraging to the other person. So here's a test. Just take one day, maybe the rest of this day, and note to yourself all the things that you say that are encouraging to someone, and all your thoughts that are encouraging, and all the things you say that are discouraging to someone, and all your thoughts that are negative. And put them in stacks and see which stack is the tallest. For most people, the stack of negativity is the tallest. And so we have to work to get it to be the opposite. I want to share with you some of Tim Keller's ideas about friendship. He's the pastor and the founder of the Redeemer Presbyterian Church in New York City, which is close to a friend of mine, Johnny Ray Youngblood's church in New York City as well. Tim Keller is an amazing person. He believes that the message in Proverbs in the Bible, which was written by King Solomon and is often considered the book of wisdom, states that you will never reach true wisdom in this lifetime without becoming good at choosing, forging, and keeping friends. Choosing, forging, and keeping friends. First part of that equation is choosing. Taking care to choose on purpose who we spend time with. I want to read you a story from Bob Goff in his wonderful book, Love Does. I really recommend that book. It's a tremendous book, instruction on how to love. So here it goes. During college, I decided to take some time off and hitchhike around the country. Back then, times were different, and lots of people were doing this. Lots of people were also getting murdered, though, which is why not so many people are doing it anymore. But back then, one time I decided to hitchhike from San Diego to San Francisco. I got several rides up the coast past Los Angeles and never had to wait for more than a few minutes between them. Most people were nice and willing to pull over. There's an unspoken rule, however, when you hitchhike, more like common sense. When a car pulls over to give you a ride, instead of telling the person where you're going, You need to ask that person where they're going. That will give you a second or two to check them out and see what they're like. If, for instance, they say they're going to the reptile convention or the convention on snakes or an assault rifles show, well, then you can tell them, oh, I've already been there, thank you, and catch a ride with someone else. At about Santa Barbara, I found myself stuck by the side of the highway for almost a day. After 24 hours of sticking my thumb out, I was desperate to get moving again. Finally, a van pulled over to the shoulder toward my outstretched thumb. I wasn't thinking about anything except getting farther north, so I climbed into that van before it had even stopped. The guy driving looked about 40 years old and had a huge beard. I was actually a little envious of that beard, and I thought, someday I could have that kind of a wild man look too. The windows weren't cracked, and it wasn't long before I caught wind of a toe-curling body odor. This guy could have knocked over a water buffalo at 50 feet. No matter, I was moving again, and that was all I cared about. As we picked up speed, I noticed the dashboard was covered in rose petals. That's weird, I thought. Was this guy a florist? I was guessing not, because there weren't any more flowers inside the creepy, hollow, windowless van. On the driver's side was a picture of a guy's feet framed in a gold frame. If you're like me, you are probably thinking, this is starting to get weird. Why does someone have a picture of a dude's feet framed on top of rose petals? My best guess was that this bearded, stinky guy wasn't a podiatrist. My weirdo needle was going crazy. After fiddling with my backpack a little and looking out the window, I asked the guy, so, where are you headed? No answer. Not a good sign. This is precisely the reason I had disciplined myself over the years to always ask someone where they are going before getting in with them. But on this occasion, I had been stuck by the highway long enough that I had somehow forgotten my own rule. I let a few long moments pass in the off chance he was just taking his time to answer. After a while, though, I figured the first question didn't land, so I offered in a cheery voice, so where are you coming from? Isn't this a beautiful day? I love this time of year, don't you? No answer. Not a good sign. I continued staring out the van window, trying not to put out any I am totally freaked out vibes. Then, without any prompting, the driver turned his head really slowly, like the bad guys in a horror film. Do you really want to know who I am? He said in a voice covered with emphysema and evil. Sure, I said, trying to keep the mood light. Well, I'm Satan. Oh, I said. I know it wasn't the most probing response, but it was all I could come up with at the time. In reality, I was totally freaked out. I told Satan, who I was surprised to note was smaller than me, to pull over and let me out of his van. While it was nice to be moving again, I figured he wasn't ultimately headed where I wanted to go. Satan acted like I hadn't said anything at all, and he just kept on driving. Playing it cool, I told Satan to pull over or I would beat him to a pulp. I think it's good to be direct with Satan. Satan did pull over, and I got out. Dust from his creepy, pedal-filled, feet-idolizing van swirled around my face as he drove off. To be completely honest, I was just thankful to be safe and out of there, and I felt bad for whoever he was going to pick up next. When I put my thumb out again a bit later, I was a little apprehensive. Eventually, a station wagon with peeling fake wood siding pulled over. The driver was a woman, and I quickly scanned the back for pitchforks or any other sign of the underworld. The only unusual thing was a large black box behind the back seat. Suppressing the thought it might be the remains of the last hitchhiker, I asked the woman where she was going, and she said she was on her way to a wedding in San Francisco. That sounded fairly safe, so I climbed in. After a while, I decided to get the conversation going. And so I asked her, "Hey, what do you have in the back?" I was almost afraid of the answer before it came. "It's my harp," she beamed. "I'm doing the music for the wedding." I laughed, sighed relief. "Yeah, your harp, of course." I grinned and fell asleep. I learned something hitchhiking that day. I learned that even though I needed a ride to get somewhere, I had a lot of power over who I'd hitch a ride with. I know it sounds simple, but life is like that too. You become like the people you hang around. Be careful with whom you company. And to a great degree, you end up going wherever they're going. So we have to choose our friends carefully. It matters with whom we company, because as a child, we're very impacted by our family. But as we outgrow our family, we are also very impacted with the people that we surround ourselves with. Tim Keller believes that we don't so much choose our friends as we discover them. Oh, you too? Oh, I thought I was the only one. I am not alone after all. We often by accident discover a friend just by being willing to say out loud our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs. That's one of the things that I love about Unitarian Universalism. It's safe for you to say your thoughts and your feelings and your beliefs out loud. We have room for many beliefs, including yours, whatever they are. I had this friendship discovery when I first came to this faith. I remember thinking, "Oh, really? You too? You don't believe that Gandhi is burning in hell?" "Neither do I." "Oh, you don't believe in hell?" "Neither do I." And suddenly I found kindred spirits here. It's so exciting to find kindred spirits. So the next step in developing a healthy and fulfilling friendship is forging or building. First, we discover people like us. We discover people that have the same passions we do, who have the same beliefs we do. And then we have to forge the friendship. We have to actually build the friendship. Tim Keller suggests there are 4 building blocks: constancy, candor, carefulness, and counsel. Let's look at constancy. A friend loves all times. King Solomon said, "A friend is better than a brother," because a friend is always there, while a brother is there in adversity. In other words, you can count on your family to be there if there's something bad going on in your life, but not necessarily otherwise, because they might not even like you, and you might not even like them. But a friend, it's different. They like you. They want to hang out with you. They want to spend time with you. They want to get to know you in good times and bad. And that takes time and consistency. That is, you can only be a friend if you have availability. If you're too booked, too busy, whatever, there's no room for friendship to actually develop. You have to make time for that. To be there when the chips are down, but to be there when the chips are up as well. Groucho Marx once said, "When you're in jail, a good friend will be there trying to bail you out. But a best friend will be in the cell next to you saying, 'Wow, wasn't that fun?'" Another building block is carefulness. For if a man deceives his neighbor and then says, "Oh, I was only joking," this is a man who is disconnected. It is if he is saying, "I don't know you well enough to know your emotional self." There's an old saying that goes like this: once you are a parent, you are only as happy as your unhappiest child. In other words, you cannot be filled with joy as you watch your child suffer. It's the same in friendships. A true friend cannot be singing a joyful song when he sits and watches you weep. Being careful in friendships means having empathy, feeling what the other person is feeling and responding to it. A true friend creates an emotional connection with you, who you are, and they know what you're feeling. A third building block is candor, or being willing to tell the truth. Words from a true friend can be trusted. They are words you need to hear and are delivered in a kind way. After all, if a friend doesn't tell us you have spinach in your teeth, who will tell you? A true friend is willing to say the hard stuff. Yes, I think it was your fault. Yes, you hurt my feelings. Oh yeah, you were a total jerk. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you drank too much. But some people will claim, oh, I love him too much or I love her too much to tell them the truth. But the reality is we have to count on our friends to tell us the truth. Otherwise, it feels like betrayal. I'll tell a story on my husband from many years ago, 20 years ago probably. He wouldn't act this way today at all. But we had a new neighbor move into our neighborhood, and I decided to make them some homemade cookies and take them over and welcome them to the neighborhood. I wasn't eating sugar at the time, so I didn't taste them. And I said to my husband, can you taste these and tell me if they're any good? And he took a bite and chewed it and said, well, yeah, they're fine. My 5-year-old came along and took a bite and said, ew, yuck, these taste awful. So I turned to my husband and I said, you would let me walk to our new neighbor's house and give these cookies that taste awful? And he said, well, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. Now he's willing to hurt my feelings because a true friend will tell you the truth. They're willing to risk hurting your feelings by protecting you with the truth. There's a Russian proverb that says, it's better to be slapped with the truth than kissed with a lie. And there's a country western song that croons, hurt me with the truth, but don't kill me with a lie. A true friend is emotionally connected to you enough to tell you the truth, but to do so carefully with kindness. But they do tell you the truth. The fourth building block in forging a friendship is counsel, being willing to offer a word of advice. It's watching your friend's back. It's keeping an eye on your friend's reputation. It's giving them a warning when you see that they're headed down the wrong track. And to do so, to offer counsel, also means willingness to be vulnerable, to own your own stuff. Oh yeah, I did that one time too, and I can tell you what I learned from it. Oh yeah, I'm not perfect, let me tell you. And being vulnerable, opening up your heart to tell your secrets to a friend and say, I'm not perfect and there's no expectation for you to be perfect either. We're just human beings doing the best we can on the planet. So, we discover a friendship and then we build it. And finally, the goal is to keep it. Keep putting time and energy into these friendships that you have. I have about 8 soul sisters, and I rotate. Oh, I haven't seen this one for a while. I'm going to call her up. Hey, let's get together for coffee or lunch or dinner or whatever, or to do something, because I don't want to lose contact with those wonderful people in my life. Friendships are kind of like a tender plant. We have to tend to them. We have to weed them. We have to water them. We have to give them sunshine. So, we have this ideal picture of what a friend would be for us. You know, somebody who's willing to tell us the truth, somebody who's willing to give counsel, somebody who's willing to be constant and be there in good times and bad, and somebody who is willing to be not draining but energizing for us. The question, though, is, are you that kind of friend? Are you the person that's willing to show up and really be there for someone else? Because to have a friend, we have to be a friend. So I encourage you to open your heart, say your truth out loud so you can discover kindred spirits and find out, wow, we could be friends, and start building on that. It's hard because it's time consuming and all of us have busy lives, but it's worth it. Friendships are worth it. It doubles the joy and halves the pain. Make time for friends in your life. Blessed be. May it be so. Amen. And before we do the last hymn, I have to do a shout out to Katie and Dodie. Both of them called me. They could tell I was leaning left and said, if you don't want to write a sermon this week, it's okay. We'll cover it. And that felt so loving and so supportive. And I say thank you very much. And now we're going to sing hymn number 1021, Lean on Me. Lean right, though. Thank you to each one of you for being somebody that I feel I can lean on. And may you find people and use me to lean on as you need to as well. Go forth this week, discover a new friend. Blessed be.